All right, so you guys should all have hopefully a little potato like this from yesterday. Like I said, they're not going to be completely even. So looking at the pictures of William, and I printed these out just from the PowerPoint, you can kind of see the shape of him, how the back is a little bit more arched. We may add a little bit more clay onto there as well, but you can kind of look at the shape of your potato-esque form and determine what way you want to hold it. All right, so I might kind of start to look at this and determine, I feel like this goes up a little bit more. So I think that that's going to be my top, and then I'll build the head part off of here. I'm just going to set that aside. I want to talk a little bit about proportions. You guys are going to need a few pieces of clay that are all the same size, but first we're going to want to go in and determine what size we need for the first leg so that we can then go ahead and create more. I like to first just kind of squish up a bunch of clay, and we're going to be pretty much just like molding these by hand. So I'm almost creating just like a small shape like this. And in looking at the photo, you want to kind of look at it and determine the legs are not that big. They're really quite little, especially thinking about hippos too in the wild. They have much smaller legs in proportion to their body. So if I were to put that there, that's kind of funny looking. We're going to want to make them a little bit shorter. However, they are still kind of wide. So I'm going to take 4 pieces of clay. And we want to make them all about the same size. And it's okay if they're a little bit bigger. All right, that will work. And what we're gonna do to work with these is we're just gonna go in and smooth them. And because this is 3-dimensional, I know it's a little stuffed animal, this might even be more helpful for proportion. When looking at the real one, there's little feet in the front, so we do want to sculpt those little kind of like toes in the front, and that's what I'm going to show you guys how to do now. So we're just working from a solid piece of clay, and we want to get it nice and smooth, and I like to go in and kind of start tapping the bottom out and just kind of start smoothing upward. And we do want to make sure that we keep the feet pretty large on the bottom because it is going to be holding up the whole form. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to push in a little bit here to start to bring a foot shape to it. Now I'm going to continue to go in and keep like really modeling these. But I first just want to assess all the different shapes I'm going to need. And I do have a lot of clay up here, and you'll see why I need that later on. We're going to use that to attach the foot underneath. you guys can use your tools to go in. But I just like kind of going in, smoothing up. Tap it down on the table. And kind of making sure that you are really defining a little foot down here. You can go in with any of your tools. I think that these guys work out pretty well, and shave a little bit off if needed. And we're really just kind of molding them to look like the little feet. So if you guys want to reference the images in the PowerPoint, you can, to try to replicate those. But remember, you do want to leave extra clay up top here. So even if they look kind of odd, they look a little too tall, that's okay. I'm going to start to kind of push in a little bit. And take your time when making these little feet. Go in and just kind of shave the back up a little bit, and just making sure these are really smooth. When we fire them, the speckled brown clay is going to make a really pretty texture under the turquoise and the underglaze. So we want to make sure that these are really smooth so that the texture of the clay really creates it looking like the traditional clay that the Egyptian sculptures are made out of. And you could see it's kind of starting to form a little foot. Now I'm going to work on these with you guys today and a little bit in class tomorrow. And that's why I decided to make the final project an extra credit assignment, because I wanted to give you guys enough time to really make these feet nice and the head and everything like that. I didn't want to rush you. So I'm going to go in with my second piece. This foot is not finished yet, but I want to try to get them all in like a similar form before I go in and start like really adding my details. So I like to tap it down first. And even on William, remember 3 of his legs were broken off and they were recreated. So they are not similar. I mean, not exact. They are similar. They're not exact. They're not even the same color, really. So if your William feet are a little bit different in size, that's even more traditional. But we're gonna try to aim for the same size. Also, the back legs are a little bit larger than the front ones, so maybe if you have 2 feet that happen to turn out a little bit larger, then we could put those in the back and vice versa. So I'm really just smoothing up and kind of starting to shape like a little foot. Just pinch it, smooth it. And it's really just kind of little figure sculpting. But it's gonna make sense why we're making these much taller tomorrow when we go in ahead and attach them on. I don't think we're gonna get there today. So we'll just work on getting our feet made. I wish we had longer. tapping that down. You could see this one's bigger, so I may do something like that. I may also kind of go in and shave this up. I feel like it might be a little too big. So you could always go in and take some off with your ribbon tools and then just smooth it up, because that's going to be the easiest way to get clay directly off of the form. And you can see like slightly a small heel as well. So we're gonna really kind of want to define that foot, but keep it smooth at the same time. And look at references. I always say, whether it's drawing or ceramics, you want to either draw or sculpt what you see, not what you think you see. Because in your mind, you get an image of what you think something might look like. You think, you know, oh, I know what that looks like. I could totally go for it. I could totally draw that. But when you really go and look at something closely, you'll start to notice things, you know, that you didn't notice before. So it's really, really important, especially in figure sculpting and things like that, or drawing from natural environments or still lifes. Yeah, and you want to also kind of consider your form. Obviously this is too high, but I'm going to put it like, imagine there. That looks pretty good. So really keep in mind your proportions. If they're different heights, that's okay. We could trim that up tomorrow. Just try to get them approximately the same size. And I know this seems kind of silly, we're really just smoothing clay, but you want to just make sure you have a nice little base for the foot. Because these are what's going to be holding up your whole sculpture. Start on my next one, and I kind of just make like a really thick coil and then just kind of start tapping it into shape and then smoothing it up. I cannot wait for these guys to be finished. We'll have so many little Williams. I always love going to see William at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It's in New York, and we were supposed to go last year. And literally the week before we were supposed to go, the pandemic begun. It had started. The trip was like still on, and then they closed the museum, and so then we didn't go. But who knows, maybe next year we could run a trip. Hopefully. New York trips are fun. And the Met is the #1 art museum in the world. So I hope next year, if you guys continue to take ceramics 2 or art, that we can go on a trip. All right, so I'm starting to get my little feet. And I still have quite a bit of like shaping to do, but they're generally, you know, within means. Stop up. And then just smoothing it up. Do you guys have any questions on either creating the body or working with these little feet? These are really just kind of tapping out, smoothing, and then we're gonna define like the little bottom pieces. But just make sure they are proportionate to your hippo, because you don't want to have a hippo with a large body and like little tiny legs. Well, that would be like some surrealism there. Have you guys ever seen the Salvador Dali paintings with the elephants with the really thin, spidery legs? I was thinking maybe in Elements. All right, we'll smooth that up. So I'm kind of like sculpting outward first, just so that I get something in the front to define it. This part's gonna be a little bit more rounded for the head part. We're gonna like freeze sculpt the head, and then we're gonna hollow it out later on. If you wanna try to start it, that's totally fine. I'll probably demo that on Friday, I'm thinking, like the start of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna just wait for you because I don't want to mess
Okay. And I'm also gonna go over like attaching the feet tomorrow, because we'll wanna do that in a special way too, to make sure they don't fall off. That's why we're leaving extra clay here. And even if your clay starts to flare out like this, that's okay. I have more clay still up by the main office there. If you guys need to pick some more up. I'll cut some more up today too, and I'll drop it off after school. Or even if you wanted to use some of the chocolate brown clay, you can do that because we're gonna use it as extra credit. But I will leave some more up front. I know that there was some. I don't know if my other class has taken it all or not, so I'll cut some up after school and then drop it off on my way out. gonna kind of start. I would say tomorrow, sometime between 8, is the school open at 8? Yeah, 8 to 3. No problem. Got some little feet going on. And then in your bag with the blue underglaze and your burnishing stone, the black underglaze, that's what we're gonna use to paint the different lotus designs. And like I said, if you guys wanna alter the pattern a little bit, you can. Or if you wanna go with the very traditional one, I will upload some traditional floral Egyptian patterns if you want to go off of something a little different, or if you find something on your own that you like. But kind of start to form little hippo feet. How many people think they might need more clay? After this, we just have the head, which is like yay big, and we're gonna hollow it out. So you will have that extra to hollow from when we hollow it out. Maybe I'll leave like 10 bags up there. I'll leave some up there. That way it's there. And if you guys have any questions about anything, ask me, go on YouTube. I have all my stuff there too. But yeah, now that I have these and they're kind of like the same size-ish, I am gonna eventually go in and cut them to the same height before I attach them. But for now, I'm just gonna kind of work on sculpting them. So really looking at the photo, you can see how they kind of like stick out a little bit. This one almost has like a little toes forming. And just kind of make it look like it's smoothed, but also separated a little bit. Oh yes, you may. Yeah, Stacy, you're gonna need to hide everything. You too. So this kind of just like the basics. I like using even like the brush. You could push in and get some nice lines and then smooth it in both directions, kind of like you would a coil.
Playing my computer and laughing. Stop.
So if you guys can see, like I separated this, but then I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna really like kind of smooth it. So you could see the disconnect, but it's still attached. This camera's not as great as my other one. I'm gonna also just smooth a little bit up. I think I took a little too much out. But you still have that little bit of space to kind of like work it. There we go. that it's all smoothed over. All right, so this is kind of like the basics of getting these feet started. You will want to leave extra clay on the tops. I'll show you that tomorrow, but just work on sculpting the feet. We'll work on it more in class tomorrow, and I will show you how to attach them, and then on Friday we will start the head part. All right, so you guys have a great day. I'm gonna let you go ahead and clean up, and we will continue tomorrow.